So let's get started. I want to dive straight in, and
Okay.
I want you to tell me who is your drag persona? What does Lady Camden stand for, and what does she love to do the most on stage?
Well, my drag name is Lady Camden, and I would say Lady Camden is very bubbly and vibrant and colorful, and I sort of like to try to channel that slightly juvenile kind of energy that a Spice Girl would have. Um, I mean, I was obsessed with the Spice Girls as a kid, and
Yes,
I definitely wanted to be Baby Spice, like
of
many
course.
little gay boys probably did. Yeah. Um, and I think as an adult, we learn to like kind of, you know, adult up and all that. And drag, I think Lady Camden likes to sort of tap back into that kind of
Yeah.
kid mentality and fun. I love to perform. That's my number one thing. I have a ballet background and a theatre background, so I'm definitely most comfortable when I'm on stage and just like letting the real world float away.
That sounds so fun. You see, I read about you, and I read about your ballet background as well. I just wanted to know, what was the transition from ballet into drag like for you, and what is the difference? Is there much of a difference for you?
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I thought at the time, I thought, oh, it's going to be a really easy transition. Like they're both performing things.
Exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, but ballet actually is sort of, it's very rehearsed, it's very perfected, and you always want to, like ballet dancers are always sort of aspiring to perfection and
Yeah.
being seamless and consistent as well. Whereas being a drag performer, the beauty of drag is the messiness of it and like the
Yes.
fun and the kind of unhinged moments and like the drama and the chaos. That's like what we love about drag, and it's really the opposite of ballet. So I
Yeah.
think it took me a long time to kind of realize, oh, it's actually really wonderful to let go of that um, perfection seeking. And that even though I love ballet and I still do to this day, for me personally, that seeking perfection mentality was not healthy for me. And I think that
Right.
drag allowed me to go, hey, you know what? Sometimes you're a messy human and it's wonderful, you know? So it was a tricky transition. It wasn't as seamless as I thought it was going to be. I
No.
thought it was just going to be easy peasy pudding pie. But um, drag forced me to go, hey, how comfortable are you with being, a real human with highs and lows, peaks and valleys?
That's really
Yeah.
interesting. It sounds a lot more different than I would imagine then. And I guess you
Yeah.
can let loose, which is why I want to know, if I was to come to a Lady Camden show, what should I expect? What would I see from you?
Well, I'm very physically active. I love to bounce around the venue a lot and do a lot of dancing and a lot of ballet and, a few tricks here and there for sure. Um, I definitely like to infuse any numbers that I do with like some goofy humor, like some kind of stupidity.
Why not?
Um,
It's always good.
you know, yeah, I think so as a performer, drag queens do a lot of gigs at brunches and at nighttime drag shows, and I try not to perform just like a song, as is. As a lip sync, I always try to edit some movie quote into it or some
Oh,
reference
nice.
or some kind of comedic skit. I'll add a bit of some bullshit from Family Guy into there, or like, some Mean Girls quote or something. I try to have like a general reference that the audience kind of can relate to, some pop culture reference to it, just to make it
Right.
funny and to make it a whole, uh, a well-rounded thought and not just like a song.
I love that. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, your show sounds very entertaining, but what is the wider scene like where you are? Is San Francisco, am I right?
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so paint a picture for me. A night out in San Francisco. I'm going out to the clubs. What will I see?
Well, first of all, you're in trouble if you're going to San Francisco on a night out.
Good
Um, so
to
honestly,
know.
it's hard. Yeah, no, yeah, it's definitely fun trouble. But um, SF is known for being super eclectic and home to lots of different kinds of drag, which makes some people kind of have a hard time describing it, and
Okay.
myself included. Like I say that because people ask me how do you fit into the San Francisco scene and like what is it like there. I would say that I fit in because I don't in a weird way. It's like um SF is the one place I felt the most comfortable to try things out and to take risks. And I was looking around, I was like, there's no other British queen, there's no other garbage spice running around. You know, I don't feel like I have people that I can copy or learn from as much. I'm still just trying to figure it out. And in some ways, it was the quintessential SF experience of like, oh, I'm no one, you know, these are my references that not everyone gets, but some people do. And I never felt ever that I was not welcomed because of that.
Right.
There's definitely scenes like you've got the Castro scene, you've got the South of Market scene. There's a lot in the Tenderloin as well. Kind of all over San Francisco, there are different styles of drag, and sometimes people bounce around from one to the other. SF is, Castro can sometimes be more nightlife, poppy, vibrant, and Soma can be a little bit more sexy and underground and dark. But
Oh,
at the same
okay.
time, the two worlds kind of they reverse their styles as well. I would be wrong to kind of pigeonhole anybody there. So it's definitely a place where we strive to do something unexpected. We try to not live in our own little boxes.
Right.
Um, so SF is going to be a place that you would not really know what to expect, and it would be different from night to night. And there are just so many performers that come in from the Bay Area, people that live in San Francisco. It really is like the most eclectic hodgepodge of people.
Yes. Well, that sounds amazing. I think you painted a perfect picture, and I can see why drag thrives there so much with such a diverse scene, which is always great to see in drag.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you're British. I would love to know more about that. What is your British heritage? Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, I mean, so I was born in North London. I was born in Camden Town,
Oh wow! That
and
explains the name.
yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah, and well, I was actually born like a couple tube stops away from Camden Town, but
Okay,
we
we
won't
won't
we
tell
won't get
anyone
into that.
that.
Yeah,
We'll ruin the
so
brand. We'll,
anybody,
we'll keep it a secret.
yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, I was born in North London. I grew up there. My mum is American though, and that's kind of why I have both citizenships. And
Wow.
I'd visited America a lot as a kid. I was very like going, on summer holiday, I would go to Chicago. So very familiar with it anyway, and it was always like this fun vacation place in my mind. Um, and as a kid, my dad used to be the manager of the Electric Ballroom, which is a nightclub in Camden, and it's like a big, huge underground club with a huge dance floor. And sometimes after school, it would be dad's turn to look after me. So I'd go over to the ballroom and wait for him to get off work. And
Oh
while
wow.
he was still, yeah, while he was still like finishing up stuff, he'd turn the music on and turn the lights on sometimes. And I would like have the dance floor to myself to just like dance
Ah,
around.
it
And
explains
like,
a lot, doesn't it?
yeah, it speaks a lot. And I would sometimes bring my rollerblades if I wanted to be extra and just like rollerblade all over the dance floor.
No way.
And so but then I went to ballet school and I went to Royal, and which was just outside of London, Royal Ballet School, and then
Yes.
Birmingham for a few years. And then I got my first ballet job in Slovakia, just so random.
Wow, you've been
Um,
around a lot. That's
I've
a
been
lot of
around a
countries.
lot. Yeah, and then I moved to Sacramento to join a ballet company there because they did a lot of, choreographic
Yes.
programs where you could make your own ballets. And I wanted to be a choreographer as well. And then I moved to San Francisco for another ballet company and I got injured. And that's kind of when I started to play around with makeup and just, I needed like an outlet to sort of have fun with
Yeah.
that. So still very much a British boy, but I've been in America so long now that I do feel like it's equal parts.
Yes. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, when you were in the UK, obviously you were born there, it was a lot of your life. Did you get to experience much of the UK drag scene? Did you see much of that?
I honestly didn't. I know it sounds weird and crazy to be like, oh, I'm a British queen and I've never really experienced drag in the UK. But it's because I started drag, what age was I? I must have been 26 or something. And, I'd been in the States at that point
Yeah.
for 6 years.
Yeah.
And, when I was back in England, I was like boarding school. And then before that, I was just like at secondary school. So I never went out to clubs or anything. I mean, I did go out to clubs in London, like, underage, but I never really saw that many drag shows. I probably did if I think about it. I just don't remember them because it
Right.
was just so long ago. But I was definitely introduced to drag in SF, and that was sort of like how I painted the picture of what drag is. And so watching Drag Race UK it was
Uh,
so exciting to me because I was like, oh, I get to see these queens like represent parts of the country that I don't really get to kind of talk about here,
right. Yeah.
and
Exactly.
a lot of Americans are asking me questions like, "What the fuck did they just say? Like, what does that mean?" And like, they're asking me, and it made me feel so good to go, "Oh, I feel so seen by these people," you
Yeah.
know. So that was really cool. Yeah,
Oh, that's great. It's so nice that even though you're in SF, you still can relate to, UK drag because it's where you come from, really. So you're still connected to it. And you
yeah,
mentioned Drag Race UK, which is amazing, isn't it? It's one of my
yeah.
favorite seasons of the show. Have you been lucky enough to meet any Drag Race queens doing the work that you do?
Oh, you mean drag? Yeah, so Drag Race Queens. In person, I think I've met Bag of Chips and
Oh, no
Davina De
way.
Campo, but it was at a meet and greet. They would not remember me. I was not in drag or anything. But Davina De Campo, I think, follows me and she's commented on a couple of my things,
Oh,
which
love
is, I know
that.
that sounds so nerdy, but one time I posted a picture that had like an arabesque, and I was feeling very fierce and like doing the ballet thing. And Davina was like, she commented like, "Look at all this" or something, and it just made me so happy
Very
because it was such an
Davina.
English thing to say. Yeah, it was such a
Yeah.
British thing to say, like, "Look at all this." And so I haven't met that many other than her. I think I maybe Bimini follows. I don't know. I can't remember, but it's just like following. It's not like met
Yes.
in person. Um, but now that Drag Race UK has been going off, like there are so many queens I would just love to meet,
Yeah,
and just get
absolutely.
drunk with and just have a good time. Yeah.
Oh,
Hmm.
there's always opportunities. Drag queens in clubs, always.
Yeah. Hopefully one day I'll get to. My dream, honestly, would be to go back and perform at Heaven or somewhere because
Oh,
I
yeah.
used to go to Heaven. Like I used to sneak in there when I was underage all the
Oh,
time,
no.
and yeah, and so it would be really cool as like a full circle moment to go back and perform there one
Yeah.
day. So fingers crossed that happens. We'll see.
Oh, what a dream. My boyfriend used to
Yeah.
live in London, and Heaven was his absolute favorite place. And he told me
Oh,
so
I
many
bet.
stories of all the drag queens he met, Manila, Naomi, and I'm very
Hmm.
envious. So hopefully one day we'll be able to see you there as well and watch Bag
Yeah,
of
maybe.
Chips.
Oh my God, I've heard that Bag of Chips gets the guests so drunk. Like every time American queens talk about going there, they're like, if you're trying to like not drink that night, don't surround yourself with Bag of Chips.
I love how that's like a story that everyone's aware of, that they need to be careful.
In America, yeah,
Yeah, every
yeah,
drag queen in America has to watch out for Bag of Chips.
literally, yeah,
Now, I want to know more
legend.
about your own career. So, what are your biggest achievements so far, would you say, in your career as a drag queen?
Um, yeah, no, it's a good question. I think a lot of the achievements that I feel like I've made have been kind of unusual ones in the drag
Yeah.
world, because in SF, as a dancer, like I started to get kind of involved with Broadway Bears San Francisco, which started off in New York, and it was like basically started off as a show put together by stars of the Broadway scene as a way to raise money for AIDS research. And it happened in the 80s. It was at the height of the AIDS pandemic, and it was a way to kind of come together and raise money in hopes of finding a cure. And it's been going on since the 80s and been raising millions of dollars every year. They started a San Francisco version of it, not that long ago, but it was the first time that I performed in drag, um, really dancing and really doing ballet with partnering and real choreography. We were stripping. It just felt like such an exposing but yeah, amazing moment to be on
Yeah.
stage going, oh, this is stuff that I've actually worked on my entire life and I'm actually just putting it into drag.
Oh, it's
Um,
amazing.
so that was definitely an achievement. I think another thing that I started doing when I moved to San Francisco was I started going to acting school, and I started auditioning for like local films and TV bits and bobs. and a filmmaker, Ronnie Allman, was creating like a modern day Peter Pan.
Okay.
And we created basically like episode one of what one day he's hoping to get the money to do the rest of the season, 'cause it costs a lot of money. Um, but I starred in it as Tinkerbell in drag, and so I was like fully
Oh wow.
acting, and like it was like a real story with real script, and it was such a dream to be like on the silver screen in drag, and um, those are two things. Another thing I did was make a help produce like an LGBT night for the ballet company that I used to dance for.
Oh,
Um,
great.
which was it was a kind of a full circle moment because I think when I left ballet, I was like, oh, the ballet is going to close their doors on a drag queen. They're not going to want to have a relationship with a drag queen, really. But then for them to reach out and be like, we want to do an LGBT night and have you back on stage and drag, it was just like a really cool moment to have a full circle
Yes.
feeling of like, oh, I came back to that stage, but as this new persona. Um, so I'd say those three things are like the first things I think of when I think of little dreams come true kind of thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's lovely. It's like your two worlds like colliding, connecting. It must have been a
Yeah.
moment.
There's definitely a fear of that when you start doing drag that wherever you've come from before is gonna like disown is a dramatic word, but they're gonna kind of want to dissociate themselves from
Right.
you because it's just drag has always been something that's taboo and raises a lot of eyebrows.
Yeah.
And I think I'm lucky to be somewhere like San Francisco where it's a different mentality. It's very open minded. I know that not everyone has that opportunity to do that.
That's great. I want to know more about I guess your childhood, but also your whole journey into what you do now. And who would you say are your biggest supporters, your biggest cheerleaders in life? Have you had people surround you and lift you up like that?
Um, it's funny about people supporting you and cheering you on. As time has gone on, more and more people have shown their appreciation and shown their support. Because in the beginning, maybe it was out of fear, I assumed that people wouldn't really be into it, or that,
Yeah.
especially in the ballet world, I assumed that they would be like, you know. Um, but over time, all of my old friends that I've known my whole life, especially the people that you knew from childhood, are the people that are the biggest supporters. It's always the people that you've known the longest. Um, I have a best friend in England, Maya, who I literally just left a 30-minute voice note before I called you. We stay in touch. We've known each other since I was 14 and like such a long time ago now. And
Yes.
um, I've learned that the people that you've known the longest that have always been there for you are the ones that are going to always be there for you, even when you become someone else. Um, and yeah, I'd say her. I'd say the first time I got a job outside of ballet was in San Francisco because it was so expensive there. I had to like get
Mm.
two jobs. I could not survive in SF. It was so fucking expensive. Excuse me, so expensive.
You're allowed to swear here.
And
It's all good.
okay, great. Well, fuck it then. Um, I was like trying to do this ballet job, and then I was like, okay, I need to make some extra money just so I can feel comfortable that I'm gonna make rent. And so I got a job at a restaurant, and I had no experience as a restaurant server. I was like, I can do pirouettes all day, but ask me to fucking take an order. I don't know how to do that. Um, but the manager of that restaurant was a drag queen, and she was this very intimidating, large and in charge, fierce person. And the more I got to know him as Ronnie, the more I got to know him as Mara Guevara is his drag persona, and he did this show out in Oakland in this tiny little cabaret bar. And I went to go see his shows, and then I'd go home and hang out with him and his boyfriend. I'd try on his wigs, and he'd be like, "What's happening over here? Something's going on." Um, and then gradually, I started to sort of try it out, and he became my drag mother for that reason. And he's someone that is my biggest supporter too, because he
Oh,
is a real friend that would just call you and check on you as a person, and just be like, "How's Rex doing? How are you? Let's go get lunch." Um, Obviously, my parents are very supportive. I think that those two people that I talked about though are people that they know what's going on here physically, and they know what it's like to be a performer. And it's easy to get caught up in performer drama and,
Yeah.
you know, focus on your career or your life or whatever. And it's nice to have people that are like, okay, but make sure that you're taking care of you as a person first. So those would be the people that I think are my biggest cheerleaders.
Oh, that's lovely. And you're right, it's very
Mm.
important. I feel like performers get stuck in that sphere, but they need to actually realize that they need to look after themselves, which is lovely. And you know, you
Yeah, even if you're
mentioned,
not a performer, it's just like, you know,
yeah,
if you're just a
exactly.
hard worker, you know,
Yeah.
like we get so caught up in work that it's, yeah,
Yeah,
quite
exactly.
crazy.
Self care is everything. It's very true,
Hmm.
and it's good to have that system as well, the support system. And those are your biggest supporters and cheerleaders, which is so lovely that you have that. Now, I want to know who your biggest inspirations are. You mentioned your drag mother, but if we look at other drag queens or maybe people in pop culture or even people in your
Hmm.
personal life, who are your biggest
Hmm.
inspirations?
Oh, there's so many, you know. I don't know. It sort of changes on like what you're focusing on, I guess, you know, at
Yeah,
the
of
time.
course.
I think like when I'm focusing on ballet, which I don't really do as much of anymore, but I used to be so in love with Marina La Nunez. She's a really famous ballerina in at the Opera House in London.
Oh wow.
And she is to me someone that just carries herself in a way that is just so like a superstar, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And not in terms of like ego and like pictures, about work ethic. Like she's someone that no matter how famous she's become, she's just gotten better over time. So she's obsessed with the work and like being in the studio and crafting it and just being this gracious person on stage that is just like so lovable and just so real, you know? Acting wise, I'm really inspired by Jane Levy. She's an actor in Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, who is my friend's cousin. So I know her through
Oh, nice.
someone, and to know someone that's that incredible what they do is super inspiring. And so I always look on her Instagram and see what she's doing, and you know, I think in drag, I've always been a huge fan of Willem because
Yes.
I know Willem had an earlier season and hasn't been on since then. Yet somehow is one of the most famous queens and most current and most working and most busy. She's like
Yeah.
when I think of Willem, I think of a hustler, someone that like if there's nothing going on, she'll make something happen. And she's been in movies and on TV and has her own products and has her own, you know, podcast and is honestly, even though she's a jokester and she's the best at reading people the house down boots and
Yeah.
all that stuff, she's like when I've talked to her in person, like she is real as fuck and just so real and just not only talented but yeah, such a hustler. And I think that there's queens that I admire. You know, I really admire other people like Aquaria. I just think her drag is like out of this world,
Yeah.
incredible, you
Absolutely.
know. And then there's like obviously Bianca Del Rio, Bob the Drag Queen, people that are just such lovable, amazing people. I think when I think of Willem, I think of someone that is able to manifest work and make it happen, and think that's super inspiring.
Absolutely. Yeah. Willem's definitely one of the, I think, most successful drag queens. And you're right, she did it on her own terms, which I think is very inspiring. I love that about her.
Hmm.
Now, back to your career. What are your goals and ambitions for your future? What's in the future for Lady Camden?
um, you know, I'm over the years, I've definitely married the ballet and the acting together in drag, and so I'm finally like excited to really see where that takes me. I think that I haven't really seen a drag queen do ballet and act on TV and film in the level that I have. So it's hard to think that it could happen because I just haven't seen someone do it before me.
Yeah.
Obviously, Willem has been in TV and film, and so I think, and Chandler and people like that. So I look up to that. But then I just feel like I have a weirdly specific um, combination of things that I sometimes find it hard to imagine where I would fit in Hollywood or whatever.
Right.
But I think my dream would just to be in movies and TV, you know, and I'd love to portray someone in a film as a real actor, both as myself and as Lady Camden. I mean, I've been
Yeah.
going to acting school for many years and I teach acting, and so it's definitely a world that I'm surrounded by a lot. And it's maybe a very far fetched dream in a lot of people's eyes, but I think that would be an honor. It would be just to be a working
Absolutely.
actor some point down the line. Of course, I want to perform. I would love to get on Drag Race one day. I would love to like, perform and tour and meet the world. Like that would be an incredible dream just to meet people and go back to England and perform. Like that would be
Oh,
cool
you have
too.
to, yes.
Yeah.
I'll take
I
that, you
think
promise.
yeah, yes, I would love to. I think like goal, like, dream would be to be in movies and TV for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No dream is too far-fetched, absolutely. If it's a
Yeah, that's
dream, then you
true.
make it come true. It's so true.
Yeah. Hmm.
Absolutely. Now, I want to know, do you have any jobs alongside drag now, or are you full-time drag? Are you lucky enough to say drag as your full-time job?
You know, uh, I think yes. I say I think because I'm moving back from Sacramento back to San Francisco again. The pandemic obviously just like
Yes, of
threw
course.
all of that out the window. But hold on, sorry. Um, Before the pandemic happened, I was working in like two restaurants as well as doing drag. And then I got rid of one of those restaurant jobs and I was just doing one. And then it was finally, oh, I'm just doing drag. I'm making a living doing 6 gigs a week in the
Yeah.
most expensive city in the world. I'm like, this is such an achievement. And then the pandemic was like, no, fuck that. We're
Mm,
gonna, yeah. Um, Once the pandemic started to open or started to kind of melt away, which obviously we're still very much in it. But now that things are opening back up again, I'm able to do 1 or 2 gigs a week, and so I'm living on a very modest living. But I am trying to make time to do more drag and not take on a restaurant job right now.
yes.
So I'm trying to just do the thing where you manifest it, and then it
Always
happens.
manifesting, yes.
Yeah,
That's what you
yeah,
have to do. Let's just hope COVID stays as it is and hopefully gets better even. That'd be great. We don't want to go
yeah.
back to the dark times of COVID. I hope we've gone past that now. So fingers
I really
crossed.
hope so too. Yeah, I mean, the last time I was in England was before the pandemic. I went for DragCon UK in like January before the
Oh
pandemic.
yes.
And so it would be really nice to fucking come home and see my family.
Was that the drag con that was a bit of controversy? The one that had the hundreds of thousands of people outside in the lines?
I think it was.
Oh, well, I'm
Yeah.
glad you made it in.
I did. Well, you know what? I'm glad I made it in too because I was wearing a fucking bikini and I was like, I'm
Oh
not standing out
no.
here in the
In
freezing
London, yeah, not outside.
in
You don't want to be
London.
cold.
I was like, I'm not in San Francisco anymore. Fucking hell. This
No,
is
you're
nuts.
definitely not. You're going to be
It was
freezing in a
like
bikini.
it was so fucking cold. I mean, it was my own goddamn fault. Like my little butt was just like shivering. But um, I think I got in because I was working with Hamburger Mary's. Hamburger Mary's had a stand at they had a
Oh,
booth in
nice. Yeah.
DragCon, and so I was part of the Hamburger Mary's crew. I was like one of their girls, so I was lucky that I snuck in with them.
Yes, luckily.
But yeah, I felt bad because I had some friends that were in that line and they were just,
Oh
there was some
no.
drama with like fake tickets or something. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I can't much remember, honestly. That was just. We hope that it gets better after COVID now. They've
Yeah,
had time to change things. I think it's going to be
I'm sure they
better.
will.
So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward
Were
to the
you
next.
there? Were you at that drag
I
con?
wasn't there, but I was on
Okay.
Twitter all day just like looking at the reaction. I was like, thank God I didn't go this year because look at this. But it's
I
in the
know.
future it's going to be better. So I'm looking
It was
forward to
drama.
that.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Now,
It was
I've
drama.
seen some of your YouTube videos and they're
Oh
really
God. I'm
fun.
so
No,
sorry.
I think they're really fun. I think they're great. And you're really good on YouTube. But I see you haven't made any more videos in the past year. So do you think Lady Camden will be making a return to YouTube at some point?
Yes,
Oh,
I'm
great.
definitely guilty of like doing that thing where it's like, oh, I've got these plans, and then you never get around to doing it. It's
Yeah,
just
of course. I'm
terrible.
the same.
you know, there's no excuse for it really, other than a worldwide pandemic and all that shit. But no, I definitely want to do some more of that foolishness because it's really fun to learn something new and then also have everyone just enjoy the bumpy ride that you go on when you learn how to
Yeah,
change a tire.
absolutely. Who doesn't want to see that? It's
Who doesn't
entertaining
want to see
stuff.
that? I've had so many people be like, I was stuck in the middle of nowhere changing a tire, and I thought, I can't believe I'm going to do this, but I'm actually going to watch a video and see if I can, like,
Yes.
learn how to do it myself. So I don't know, man. I think I'm helping people. I'm just saying.
A DIY queen. Who doesn't love that? We need
I mean, I
more of
still
it.
learned jack shit. I still have no idea how to do it, Didn't learn a thing, but no, yeah, I'll definitely do some more, I think. I think in
Yeah,
the next in my future, I really would like to learn how to do some trapeze. That
oh
would be
wow,
fun.
yeah,
I think that would be
absolutely,
funny to watch.
yeah.
Um, I think there was something else I wanted to learn how to do, and I can't remember what it was. I think skydiving's up there one day.
Oh my goodness. I feel absolutely triggered. You know, I was pranked by my boyfriend whilst here in Italy with him that we were going to do a skydive trick, a trip, and he made a fake email and made me believe that we were going to do skydiving. But he ended up surprising me with something else. So I fully mentally prepared myself that I was going to go
Oh
skydiving,
no.
and now I know
Were
I never
you
want to.
Well, I was gonna say, were you like pretending to be pumped and be like, "Oh my God, yay, I can't wait," or
He
what was
no,
your
I was being
reaction?
real. I said I'm not doing that, and he knew I didn't want to do that. But now I feel like I can because I thought I was going to. So who knows? Maybe
Yeah,
one day. And you should do a
you should
video
surprise
of in
him.
drag skydiving, how to skydive in drag. That would go
Yeah, and then
viral,
your
I think.
boyfriend can be in it. Your boyfriend can be like,
You'll come
"Oh,
with you.
surprise! We're gonna push you out first." Yeah,
It's a plan. It's a plan. I know he would
yeah,
love to do it, so it's perfect.
lovely.
Right
We'll get
now,
him in drag, and then we'll push him out the plane.
all of us in drag.
Yeah,
That would be a good video. I think
yeah.
anything is entertaining as long as you're in drag. Anything a drag queen does is entertaining because she's in drag.
Well, hopefully, there's some shit ones out there.
We'll see what's gonna come to your YouTube soon. I'm excited to see.
Yeah. Oh,
Now it's
yeah.
time for some quick fire round questions for you. I hope you're
Oh
ready.
God. Okay.
I'm just gonna ask you some questions. I have some for you. I'm just gonna say the first thing that comes to your mind, basically. So, for
Okay.
you personally, what do you think is the very best and very worst thing about being a drag queen?
The best thing is being out in the club, having fun, and having people take pictures with you and drinking and the fun of it, the clubs, the boots,
Yes.
boots, boots, all that stuff. The worst part about it is being in drag for an extended period of time in daylight.
Oh,
Like
daylight.
being in a corset and makeup and a wig outside, Pride specifically, for like hours and hours and hours is hell.
And in San Francisco where it's hot. Hotter
Right,
than
yeah.
England anyway.
It's awful. It's like when you see a drag queen in daylight after an extended period of time, like just go up to them, hold their hand, and say thank you for your art,
I think that's what they
or buy
deserve.
them a shot. You know,
Yes.
yeah. So the worst part is probably being in drag for a long time in daylight for
Yeah,
sure.
that makes sense. I can see that. Now, your go-to lip sync song, any lip sync song, your best one, your go-to one.
Oof. I mean, I'll murder some Spice Girls,
Of
hands
course,
down.
of course.
I'll do some, Say will be there, just going nuts. That shit gets me so pumped. And honestly, maybe it's an American thing too. I don't know, but like, I always think, oh, they're gonna get sick of me doing Spice Girls, surely. And every time I
Oh
do it, they're like,
no.
yes, amazing, so
Uh,
good, I love it. Like, they
I feel like
they
it's the
stick with
same
me.
anywhere in the world. It's the Spice Girls, isn't it? You can do it
Maybe, but I think if I
anywhere.
went to England, they'd be like, yeah, we fucking seen it, bitch. All right, what else have you got?
Uh, Every day, Spice Girl. But yeah, I can see in the USA, it's like, oh wow, the Spice Girls. It's
They just
exciting.
love it. They just love it.
Well, you can't stop. You know what you
I
have to
know, I
do.
can't. I've signed up for it now.
Now, your next one is your favorite singer. Maybe it's the Spice Girls, but is it someone else?
Let's see. Like now, or just like an
Yeah,
all
or
time?
overall, or maybe you have more than one. Favorite singers, your number one go-to artist.
Um, Shit, I have so many that I love. Obviously, Christina and Britney, because I wouldn't be a gay man without that.
Exactly,
Um,
exactly.
but I would say, I always really loved some of like the Diana Rosses, the Aretha Franklins. You know, I would say
Legends.
the legends, yeah. Um, but for right now, let's say this is not a quick answer. I'm so sorry. I'm the worst at
No,
this.
you can say what you want. It's all good. It's your
Okay.
interview.
Let's see. Can I say ABBA?
Of course you can. You know they're making a comeback, right?
They are? I didn't
Yeah,
know
after 40
that.
years. It was announced this week. They're making a comeback album and a tour, I
You've got to be
think.
shitting me. Oh, what my
Breaking
God.
news for you.
I love ABBA. Like,
New
there's
songs
an
to lip
ABBA.
sync to.
Oh my God, I love Lay All Your Love on Me.
Of course.
Gimme, Gimme, Gimme. Um, oh God, just so many. I
Just
just love
classics.
them.
Yeah,
You
ABBA's
know,
classic.
yeah. Like, we have a party once or twice a year hosted by this DJ that I love in San Francisco, and it's an ABBA party. And every year that it
Oh,
happens, I like clear my schedule. I'm like,
you have
I'm
to.
sorry, I'm not available. I'm going to this
Dedication.
party. Yeah.
There you
Anyway,
go.
sorry. That was my
You gave
answer.
some good
ABBA.
answers. They're like the top ones you can think of. I love that. Absolutely. And now you
The
know the
gay,
ABBA
the
album.
gay, what's it called? I don't know. The gay gods, I should
The Gay
say.
Gods is true. They're all up
Yes.
there. You named all of them.
Yeah.
Right, and the last quick fire round for you is your worst and best moment on stage that you can think of.
Oh my God. Let me think of the worst. What was the worst?
Hopefully, there's not a worst, but I'm sure every drag queen has a worst moment.
Oh, everyone, even if they say they don't, they're lying.
Exactly, I'm sure.
Um, oh my God, I'm trying to think. There's some that are so cringing that it's hard to even like resurface. Um, I've got a good one.
Oh, go
Okay,
on. I can
there
see you
was one
thought of
time.
it.
Yeah, so this one kills my drag mom every single time. She'll give me a voice note and sing the song just to remind me of it. She's a
Oh
bitch.
no, haunting.
So I thought I was being really clever, and I made this mix with the bossa nova, right? Do boom, ba 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 boom, and then I was like adding little quotes from Austin Powers. So
Oh,
it'd be very
okay.
Lady Bunny, where I'd spin around, do some stuff, and then it would be like, "Oh, behave," and then it
Uh,
was some more music, and then it would stop and be like, "You look sexy, darling," or like whatever. And I'd rehearsed it. I'd like done all these numbers. It was really funny and cute. I thought I was like it.
yes.
I get onto this little stage at Bow. There's like a really small stage. It's like I don't know, like 6 by 5 foot or
Oh
something, really
God,
small.
yes.
And it's a big club, right? And there's a lot of people there watching. There's like a balcony watching, and the DJ hits the track. I, for some reason, must have put on the bossa nova onto my USB as is, and not
Right.
the mix. So
Oh
I went on
no.
stage and I'm dancing around to the bossa nova, no lip syncing, no singing, just spinning around.
Oh no, that's horrifying. I would be terrified.
It was awful because I was like, they're just gonna watch me for 4.5 minutes,
Spinning.
spinning around doing fuck all. Like it was just mortifying. And then the audience went from like, and then gradually they were just sort of like
That must have been the longest 4 minutes of your life.
the longest 4 minutes of my life. That and then when I first started doing drag, long time ago, I had pinned in some hair as a
Right.
ponytail instead of like sewn it in. And that shit started to come off, and there's all these bobby pins, and I just was so
No,
mortified. I ran to the bathroom mid number, and then just like cried. I was
this is
so
bad. I'm sorry
mortified.
for asking this. I feel like I've triggered you now.
No, it's fine because it makes me feel like okay. I think I have graduated from that.
Yes, yes.
Moved the fuck on. I would say best moment on stage. I had a group of dancers with me. We recreated the Britney Spears choreography "Baby One More Time" at
Oh,
Oasis, which is a huge nightclub in San Francisco, and with the stage and lights and everything. And it was a Britney night, and so every Britney slash Christina night. So everyone was super excited to be there, and I was last. And we'd rehearsed this whole number, and it was kind of like a little dream to relive that choreography, and
oh
the
wow.
audience went nuts. It was really fun. That was definitely, and there's a clip of it on my Instagram if anybody wants to check it out.
Oh, perfect. I have to see that. Yes. Oh, that's
That
great.
was a dream for sure. And also the Broadway Bears thing that I talked about earlier. There's definitely been some highlights in San Francisco for sure.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad to
Mhm.
hear a good story after that. That's lovely.
Yeah, yeah.
And finally, I just want to know for your fans and followers, everyone that knows you, what is there to expect from you in the coming months? What will you be getting up to in San Francisco?
I'm like I said, I'm moving back to SF, which I moved out of SF for a year just to survive the
Yeah.
pandemic. So I couldn't afford it. So I'm excited to move back. I think I'll probably be doing a lot more appearances at my local bar in San Francisco. It's called
Oh,
Beau,
great.
French for Beauty. And yeah, nothing really crazy other than just getting back to it, really. I think I'm so honored and grateful that we get to do what we love again after that awful fucking year that we experienced.
Absolutely.
And so, I don't have anything massive other than getting back to it, getting back to the gigs, hopefully producing some more learning shit with Lady Camden on YouTube.
Oh, I hope so.
Um, yeah, so that is just an achievement in itself, I think, at this point, to get back to the gigs, get back to doing drag, spreading the love, stepping it up every year, trying to do more and more in the numbers that we do, um, and just growing as an artist, really.
Yeah,
That's all I can kind of hope for right now. So,
absolutely. Well, thank you so
yeah.
much for giving me your time and for this interview. It's been
Oh,
absolutely lovely to talk to you and to meet you.
thank you, Jake.